Hi guys, Tyros here. Let us talk about the AI job losses that are currently ongoing. A few days ago, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who works in the mental health space. And one thing she told me is that last year, especially towards Q4 or the last quarter of last year, 2025, she had a lot of engagements, especially with corporates. And the reason why these particular corporates were calling her was to have seminars with especially mid-row level and senior management guys who are being laid off. A lot of corporates, NGOs, embassies last year laid off thousands of people. And here I'm just talking about Kenya. In the US, around 55,000 jobs were lost last year. Again, the biggest excuse that was given was that those particular roles have become redundant as a result of AI automation. Majority of the people who are being affected are especially guys who do analytical work, data crunching, clerical work, entry-level positions, and also senior mid-row level managers who are tasked, especially in terms of analyzing data or analyzing trends to be able now to inform the corporate in terms of where the numbers or what the numbers are showing. And yes, when I was talking to this doctor friend of mine, she was really concerned that for her, she's just one person. And I think she did almost like 5+ corporates who were doing now those particular layoffs, and a lot of these people were given short-term notices and their mental health was totally messed up because you're coming from a high flying career that you thought almost everything was stable, and all of a sudden, boom, you're jobless. And this organization, UN, laid off thousands of people last year. The World Bank has also given a notice to local staff that they will be down cutting very soon. IMF, a lot of embassies. And there is so much that is happening that we really need to start thinking outside the box. And the reason why I usually post these kind of videos is just to trigger you to be able to wake up and look at what is happening around you and be able to prepare for some of these eventualities. Because unfortunately, especially for guys who have stayed in the corporate world for long, there is that comfort that you get into. There is that standard of living that is very addictive that you get into. And if you're not able to plan, especially before, and if you're lucky enough, you've not been affected by these ongoing layoffs, you just need to start calibrating your life, both from an expense point of view, from an expectation point of view, especially with yourself, with your spouse, with your kids, and generally even your mental health. Because there is nothing as stressful as when you don't know how you're going to make rent end of this month, how you're going to make school fees end of this particular term, or even how you're going to take care of your medical bills that were hitherto being taken care of by the corporate insurance scheme. And I can tell you guys, it's not easy. It's a path that a lot of people are going through silently, quietly, because it's also embarrassing. You've been a high flyer, and then all of a sudden you've been reduced to literally begging. Or there is also this whole notion that just because you had a very big position, you think it will take maybe a month or two before you land a new role. But if your company is downscaling your role because you are redundant or something else has happened, it means even the other people or other corporates that would have picked you up are also doing the same. And it's a wake-up call, and especially this message is to you guys in the corporate world. Now, fresh graduates, you have finished or you have just graduated and you are into now the job market and you're still using the old tactics of landing that new job, the CVs, um, sending out those typical, uh, I'll call them what, one standard kind of cover letters and all that. You have to think outside the box. Then there is also this whole notion, because we have been educated, brought up, let's say, in our country, Kenya, and the only opportunities that you can see are just within the country. One thing I've realized is that, especially from a technology point of view, Kenya is usually almost 5 to sometimes 10 years ahead of our neighbors. So it's also high time, and especially for these youngsters and graduates and people in middle year, kind of, let's say in your 20s, in your 30s, start venturing out of the country. Go to our neighboring countries, especially other African countries, and whatever is saturated here, because especially for us, we are extremely technically advanced. Your role will still be relevant in another country that is not very advanced like ours. Because what guys have been doing is, you want to migrate from Kenya, let's say, to Europe, to the US, where now there is this whole hula baloo about migration. You know what Trump is doing, what the European Union is doing. Notice that the European Union signed a deal with India to export uh, skills, or guys who, yeah, what you call the skilled labor to Europeans. So you might think it's a deal that the Europeans have and the Indians have worked for the last 20 years. Now they have signed it up. So what they're saying is that Europe is open to Indians to come in and fill those particular big positions. Africa, we are still having the same challenges, the old age challenges. So now migrating to Europe, migrating to the US for greener pastures is not a very sweet spot as we speak, but there is so much opportunities in what I'll call less developed countries and regions, both in Africa and in Latin America and in Asia. And especially for the youngsters who are also multilingual, you have done your French, you have done Chinese, Mandarin. I've seen guys now doing proper Chinese. I think, those forgotten, I'll call them territories. Yes, AI is also affecting those particular places, but the beauty about, especially guys from this particular country, is that our HR or our skill sets is quite high. So if you're able to position yourself, especially in other neighboring African countries, or other ecosystems that hitherto were not very receptive, especially to Africans. And here I'm talking about China, I'm talking about Latin American. If you can be able to go and do Mexican, Portuguese, those kind of uh, I'll call them what, destinations that were not very popular, maybe during our Merino days. All we thought was Europe and the US. So there is massive opportunities out there. And again, blue collar jobs, jobs that AI cannot automate. The other bit I keep on telling people with experience is that even as AI comes to automate the routine work or the analytical work, your experience is still critical. Because if you're able also to adapt these particular AI tools, and you're able to supercharge what you're able to give out as a consultant, as a specialist, yeah, you'll still have a fighting chance. The guys who do not have a fighting chance are people who are so comfortable with their old traditional careers, especially doctors, pharmacists, lawyers, those traditional kind of careers. So if you do not adapt and you still think that just because you have your doctor degree you will survive in this particular era, no, you're mistaken. So guys, just a wake up call. AI is disrupting. Nobody is safe. The disruption is real. And if you take your time to read and to research the kind of disruption that AI is doing even to the developed world, you'll be able to wake up and smell the coffee and start doing things differently. And the first thing is, number one, being able to have an AI tool that you're comfortable with, that is supercharging what you have been trained in. It doesn't matter if it's a traditional career. Again, doctors, lawyers, engineers, those safe careers, they're not safe anymore. So you need to figure out how do you supercharge your your skill sets with AI. Number two is looking for opportunities in, let me call them, less developed countries, or regions that were not hitherto very popular. I'm talking about China, I'm talking about Latin America, Asian destinations. But yes, there is the language barrier, and especially for the youngsters, you in your 20s, in your 30s, you can still be able to do this. And then lastly, is also looking for these blue collar kind of jobs, or 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 careers that yes, AI is popping them up, but still you need a physical person to be able to complete that particular task. So it's a wake-up call. AI job market revolution is here to stay. It's causing real pain. I know of a number of people who are very comfortable in their careers. Right now, they're jobless and they're really frustrated. The mental health sector, they're making a killing because guys are really depressed. It's real. You might not hear it because, as you know, in social media, we only post when we are doing well. Very few of us will post when we are crashing. But I can tell you, there's so many people in in a lot of stressful kind of situations. Just take an example. Just go to the car yards, the auction yards, or go to auctioneers and see the kind of vehicles that are being auctioned. See the kind of houses that are being auctioned. See the kind of even household products that Shylocks are trying to dispose of. It will tell you the kind of crisis that we are currently in at. But it's not all doom. As long as you do your homework, as long as you think outside the box, and as long as you do not live in a bubble, live in the real world, prepare for that day, and start doing the baby steps to ensure that at least you have a softer, safer landing as this whole AI revolution goes through. Food for thought. Tyros Nuggets. Wishing you the very best. Take care.